We're going to get started here. Thank you all for coming by. Appreciate it. This session is all about lifecycle management, so very much in terms of what we've taken on and what we hope to take on in the future, but also it's a great opportunity to answer hopefully some of your questions about LM. My goal here is that I'll go through a few slides. I don't have that many, I think, but I expect you all to be able to raise your hand nice and high so this way Liam can see you, and we can kind of go through and answer those questions as well. And obviously, I'll be hanging out afterwards as well to answer any questions too. All right, so hi. My name is Rohan Thakkar. I'm the Senior Product Manager that oversees Dossier, Faculty Search, and my personal favorite, Lifecycle Management. I was told not to have favorites, but I have one. So that is my favorite, and no, I did not coordinate to remember that I'm wearing the same shirt in my headshot, so that just worked out. Cool. So a little bit about me. Before coming into EdTech, I worked in higher ed for about 5+ years, fell in love with it, never wanted to leave it, but I just want to be a part of the technology expertise that happens behind the scenes. I was very much like the millennial in the room. They're very much like, Rohan knows technology, so we're going to put you on this committee to implement the software. And that's how I got into EdTech. So part of my time in higher ed was also in institutional research, which is why I need session outcomes before we go into a session. So my goal today is that folks be able to walk away understanding exactly what LM is and how it sits in the larger FIS. I want to make sure that you all understand what integrations exist within lifecycle management. I want to make sure that you understand some of the new analytics offerings that Navid talked about earlier in the Roadmap webinar. And hopefully you'll be able to walk away with these magnificent nuggets in your brain to understand how LM can boost the work that you all are doing on campus. Does that feel attainable? Sweet. Okay. Just as a show of hands, raise your hand if you have LM right now. Okay. Raise your hand if you're thinking about LM. Okay. Raise your hand if this is the only session to attend before the shuttle comes to take you to reception. Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Awesome. All right, so overall, I want to kind of give a breakdown of exactly what LM is today. So I've kind of broken this up into a couple sections. I'm going to go deep into each of these sections through the session itself. LM, as its top-level value prop, is that it's supposed to help you build a centralized roster. The value prop behind LM very much came after talking to a bunch of institutions when we asked them, where do you store all of your faculty data? Who are they? What ranks are they? There's the question that came in of, well, we have some of this in our HR system, but we usually have this like really ungodly spreadsheet that we pray never breaks. And one person who just is kind of like the keys of the kingdom that manages everything. Or there's like a couple places, a couple spreadsheets across the institution, and I think they exist somewhere, but I couldn't get them together if you asked me. So we're like, we should do something to help that process. So we really want to make sure that you've got a centralized place to get all the answers about your faculty you can. Furthermore, we want to give you a new visualization into what those faculty members are doing, what the path they're on, and what kind of pathways could they be on in the future to give your administrators a bit more insight. So big caveat there, LM is designed as an administrative tool. So it's different from FAR in that reality, and that FAR allows your faculty member to go in, take a look at their activities, enter inputs, and track exactly what they're doing. LM is an administrative tool that faculty do not see unless you add them, but it's designed for the administrators who are usually managing that respective roster. Furthermore, in that visualized timeline, you have the ability to track the events that they're on. The events that will appear for them are based on the ones that you have built out into a template. So that's another value prop of LM in that we want to make sure that there is some sort of standard that is being followed to try to drive a bit more equity when we're tracking faculty progress and advancement as well. So we are able to track all those journeys and see exactly, are we on track? Are we aligned for the reviews that need to happen? Do we have the right resourcing and staffing to be able to make those processes move forward? And then, of course, we want to be able to visualize some of this data. The other part of this, after working on campus as well, is I just heard an amazing presentation about change management and buy-in of faculty is a very, very difficult task. Same thing with administrators. You have to try to give them incentivization to ensure that they find value of putting their data in one system. Yes, it is great to have a centralized data. Now that I have this roster information together, what value am I getting out of it? And that's where we released analytics as well. So we want to give you that extra level to make sure that you're getting some new insights that you may not have had before. So let me break down the centralized roster and what it looks like right now. So the whole goal is that we have this singular place in which you can search and filter by all the faculty that you have across the board. you're also seeing exactly the faculty that you have access to. So there are tiers of permissions built in LM. You have your administrator who can see everything, probably the person who owned that spreadsheet beforehand. But you also have unit managers, meaning that these could be the deans or the individuals that are actually tracking the specificities of your faculty members so that when they go to the roster, they're only seeing their people and they can go in and make the changes to their respective appointments that are needed. You also want to make sure that you can coordinate all the diversized faculty in one location. So this way, whoever needs to access that data, they can. Meaning that you also have a role called viewers in LM, meaning that these are the people that we want to be able to give a view access to that spreadsheet, but they can't touch anything. So AKA, don't break it. But you can look at it, just don't do anything with it. So we have those, make sure that those stakeholders are in that roster to get all the information that they need. And the goal here is that you can simplify all the appointment details in one spot as well, past, current, and future. The other part that we wanted to make sure we're taking on is the ability to manage that data in bulk. So be able to add that data is easy because we've got lots of data loads, but you want to make sure that you're maintaining that data moving forward. So that's when we introduce a few different data options. First, from the faculty list itself, where you're able to see the appointments and the respective events they have, you can also kick off things about their events in bulk. So that's that right side over there. I wish I had a little pointer, but that side. So from the faculty list, you can initiate events from that area. We also just recently introduced the ability to bulk edit appointments. So this way, for example, if there's a divisional change that happens and I need to make massive changes across the board, I know exactly where they are, what I need to do, but I don't want to go into every single faculty member to make that adjustment. So I can use the data loader and kind of change something across the board. Selfish plug for tomorrow. I'm working with Columbia College in Chicago tomorrow, and they're talking about how they had an entire unit restructuring that happened. So Jeffrey was very concerned because he's like, I have to go into every one of these faculty members and make this change. No, Jeffrey, we just launched out a new feature so you can just put in one import and change everything across the board to align with that new structural change that just got rolled out. The second part is this timeline that I mentioned as well. So as I mentioned, you as the administrator have the ability to kind of build a playground. And that's how I talk about LM. When you talk about implementation and how to launch LM, you're thinking about this in a data governance model. So you have your top level who's basically digitizing your faculty handbook. What is our tenure tracks? What are they made up of? What do our ranks look like? And what is the flow of events that should happen? So this way, when I create an appointment, that kicks off this timeline immediately. The nice part about this is that as a template, it will kick off immediately for you, but we know that every single faculty member is going to be unique beyond their respective journey, so you can still adjust that timeline to the specificity of that individual. But it gives you a head start because you're getting given a templatized journey of what this looks like. So on the top there, you have what the template looks like of, I have set that this lecture will always have these respective ranks going forward, and then the bottom one is the respective journey that they'll be on. So you'll see as a lecturer, I have 3 events. When they move to senior lecture, I have 3 more events, so on and so forth. And you can dictate these based on timeline and the start date of the respective appointment. Okay. From there, you can start to track those timelines for review, promotion, and appointment. So I'm going to get to this in a little bit, but this is where the integration with RPT works. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with RPT, our Review, Promotion, Tenure module. Within Lifecycle Management, you have the ability to kick off those respective reviews or those cases in RPT from LM. So the idea being that if I go to, let's say, Virginia Apgar, popular lady this week, I can see that they have a review case coming up. I can go into LM and kick off that review that review case into RPT. So I'm sending it to RPT, start that case, and then the outcome of that case gets sent back to LM as well. So this way, LM is still maintained as your centralized roster while I'm managing my processes in RPT. It's also nice that you can begin to receive alerts and reminders to make sure that you're staying on schedule, so you can take a look at what these pieces look like. And ideally, we're trying to automate some of these workflows. I have a massive wish list of things that I'm excited to be able to do in LM, but I feel like this is a good place to get started where we're at right now. So just to give you an example, this is what that timeline looks like within Virginia's. I can see the review and kick off that event appropriately. Okay. Next, visualizing that faculty data. Like I mentioned, we want to make sure that you have reasonable incentive to be able to put your data into one location. So after we have that data together, give me insights about my data. Give me insights that spreadsheet would never give me, and help me answer some of the most strategic questions that I always am asking quarterly strategically about my respective faculty. I have great confidence in terms of the things that we accomplished right off the bat because these questions came directly from you all. So I just want to thank everyone in this room. If you're a part of this, if you will be part of this in the future, those UX sessions that we're always asking for, we went out to all of you before we took on this feature and asked, we're about to build an analytics feature. What are the bare minimum questions you need to be able to answer about your faculty for this to be a success? And that's how we built LM Analytics. So that came out this year to be able to essentially do two main things. We want you to be able to take action, and we want to make sure that you can actually make those strategic decisions that you want to make beforehand. So today, you can see exactly where can my data be improved, which is why we rolled out those bulk data tools beforehand. What events are overdue that need my attention? Events all have a start date. Events will not kick off automatically because you know that no faculty member ever exactly is right on schedule for the events that they're supposed to have. So we give you the ability to check on the events that maybe seem overdue in your system. Which faculty members are going up for promotion and when, so I can make sure that staffing is happening. Did it happen? What was the outcome of the case, et cetera, et cetera. What files were a part of that? Let me upload that into LM as well, so this way it's centralized together. And then finally, I want to make sure I can inform the decisions that I'm making on campus. So how has that distribution changed over time? We have a few graphs and it runs over 3 years to make sure you can actually track that change over a span of time. How have unexpected events like exception events and timelines changed the respective journey? When this launched out, obviously at the time, COVID was a thing, and there was a lot of folks putting in basically timeline extensions for COVID leaves that were happening there as well. But it was good to be able to report on that after the fact to say, how did that actually impact all the journeys that we're expecting on campus? And then finally, which units have shown growth in the last 3 years? So does that align with the goals that we have? Does the data match up with what we know to be reality? Or are we actually missing some points that we expect to be able to hit? And this is that other timeline as well. So like on the left side there, let me go back, sweet, okay. So there are 2 tabs there on the reports. One is faculty composition. It's a full tab that breaks down who my faculty are. And the next one breaks down events. So as you can see here, we've got a few widgets here. Show me the events that are happening across 2 weeks, next month, next 3 months, and my overdue events to see which ones I need to take action on. Okay. The next part I want to talk about is its integration within the larger faculty information system. I was taught that LM was always designed to be the heart of the faculty information system. And I personally love that because I feel like I have a very big heart, and I'm going to make sure to align LM with the rest of the faculty information system. So the integrations that we've been taking on are very much to drive a lot of what that looks like. We want it to be a bridge between that hire to retire that we're always talking about. So the concept here is that you will hire your faculty in faculty search. You can then send that candidate into Lifecycle Management as a profile. From there, you can add whatever appointments you need to on that respective profile. So I just had a conversation a little bit ago where we were talking about what that appointment review process looks like. That is still possible because you can send just the profile without actually assigning any appointments if that does not vibe with your process. As I mentioned beforehand, now that that faculty member lives in LM, lives in your centralized roster, you can kick off cases for them in RPT and then send those outcomes back. So all the processes that are happening in RPT are still feeding back to your centralized roster from there. So hence the heart of the faculty information system. So a little bit more deeper into what each of these integrations look like. As I mentioned, for faculty search, this is what integration looks like. You have the ability to just send them into LM. What's nice is that in faculty search, after you send them into LM, you may have forgotten that you sent to LM. There's a little box that appears that shows you exactly when you sent them over to make sure that that is a reality. This ideally has been designed to make sure they're not duplicating any faculty profiles. That was a huge thing that came out when we were first talking to clients who are adopting this new tool, and that we have this person documented, but they're documented in like 8 different places. So we want to make sure that that information is consolidated into one spot. So that was a huge part that we had there as well. And of course, we want to make sure we can speed up that onboarding for that respective faculty member as well. The other use case that we've heard a lot of is I have hired this faculty member, but now I have to track their appointment process and their appointment design. It makes a lot of sense that now that they're in LM, that first event could be appointment hire. in which you're kicking off that review case in RPT using that event in LM. So once again, you're tracking that entire journey of that faculty member from literally the point of hire. From RPT, the other side of the house, when you go to your faculty list, you'll be able to select individuals that already exist in RPT to initiate cases for them. So these are the individuals on campus that can take advantage of this. Within LM, you would need to be an administrator or a unit manager. So for obvious reason, the viewers can initiate cases. We don't want them taking action on the data. But the people that can manipulate the data in LM, unit managers as well as admins, can kick off those cases in RPT. The integration will leverage an event that exists in LM. So you do still need an event to initiate that case over, because that is also where you'll track the outcome of whatever happens in RPT. So when you go to RPT, it'll basically follow the same permissions that you have over there. You will literally see the URL change going to RPT and track that and manage that as you would any other case. There we go. Okay. Like I mentioned, not a lot of slides. Want to make sure that we have some time for questions. So biggest things I want to make sure that we're taking away from here. LM was always designed to centralize your data together. I've heard a lot of good conversations in terms of improving efficiency on campus. I've seen a lot of good use cases for folks who've already adopted LM to start to use some of these processes, and that's very much where we're thinking the roadmap for LM. We want to make sure that your processes become more efficient and it's easier to get the answers about your faculty as you need them. We want to make sure that there is this seamless integration within the faculty information system, and I love that LM sits right at the heart of that across the board. We do have role-based permissions. That is something that was very much needed for a lot of institutions. We want to make sure that became a reality. So once again, your admin should be the one basically building that playground. Unit managers are the ones playing in that playground, and the viewers are just sitting on the bench from afar just looking and not touching the playground. Your analytics feature is the way to get these insights about your faculty. Who are they? What is my distribution? What is my tenure distribution? What are the most critical questions we can answer about our faculty? And what does their events layout look like as well? And of course, we have some automated workflows. So something I didn't cover on before, the appointments always have statuses as well. Those appointments are automating those statuses based on that start date, meaning that if I create an appointment that is set for tomorrow, that appointment status will automatically trigger for tomorrow. Events do not do that for exactly the reason that I mentioned. We don't want to assume that an event actually kicked off. We want to make sure that somebody who's working with that faculty member is making that a reality. But we want to make sure that we're reducing these manual workflows as much as we can throughout the FIS. And that's it.